In 2012, there were 1,019 fatalities on Tennessee highways. That was an increase of 8.75% from 2011, but when you turn that percentage rate into the number of lives that was taken, it equals 82 more in 2012 than in 2011. In the Upper Cumberland region of the state, which we refer to as the Cookeville district, that was an 11.68% increase, which equals 9 lives. As we enter into 2013, this alarming trend has continued, and that is why we're gathered here today. It is our duty to let the motoring public of the Cookeville district and the Upper Cumberland region know that right now is not a time to be letting our guard down when it comes to driving. So far in 2013, there have been 8 fatalities in this district, which represents a 166% increase, which is equal to 5 more lives than this time last year. Of these 8 fatalities, 1 was a motorcycle, 3 are suspected impairment, 2 involve commercial motor vehicles, and only 1 of these occupants were restrained. These are still under investigation, so we can't make any specific comments on those at this time. Another disturbing factor is that all of these fatalities have occurred between 6:55 a.m. and 4 p.m. in the evening. This madness and mayhem has absolutely got to stop. Too many families are spending more time in hospitals and funeral homes than they are enjoying time with one another. I've already heard statements made that law enforcement needs to do more to stop this. Well, law enforcement has done more. Law enforcement is doing more and will do even more to ensure motorists are operating safely. However, law enforcement is depending on drivers, passengers, motorcyclists, and pedestrians alike to make smart choices when riding or operating vehicles. Smart choices like driving sober or driving the speed limit. Smart choices such as putting the phone away while driving. And perhaps the smartest choice of all, wearing your seatbelt. Nearly 57% of the people who died in vehicle crashes last year were not wearing their seatbelts. That equals 398 lives. And because people are failing to do so, law enforcement has no choice but to take action. And with me today are some of the absolute finest men and women I know who want to save lives and are going to do so. Not only are they law enforcement personnel, but they're friends and they are family, and their families are depending on it as well. One of the areas in this region that has been impacted fast this year is Smith County. Sheriff Steve Hopper and his staff are great partners of the Highway Safety Office, and they're concerned at this trend. And at this time, I will ask Sheriff Hopper to address this situation in the manner which he sees fit. So at this time, Sheriff, if you would.
First off, I'd like to say that the Governor's Highway Safety Office is a great partner in this state, has been to our agency and our police departments in our county. But we are, as Clint said, terribly concerned about the increase in traffic fatalities that we've seen so far. Last year, 2012, there were 3 fatalities involving motor vehicle crashes in our county. That's the lowest number since 1997. Been no increases since 2008. We had 8. But of the 3 last year, none of them were restrained. None of them were wearing seatbelts. That's just one is one too many. Let's see what we can do to help that. You know, since January of this year, January the 1st, we've already had 2 traffic fatalities. One's involving a motorcycle. The other was on I-40, a single vehicle accident. The suspected impairment there, and unrestrained victim. It's just way too many. The Governor's Highway Safety Office and my department, Smith County Sheriff's Office, has, and we're going to continue to discuss strategies on how we can prevent any more fatalities. And they, like I said, they've been a great partner. Our focus, I guess, is going to have to be strong DUI enforcement, and whether it be through education or enforcement, trying to convince people to wear their seatbelts. This trend can't continue. As Clint said, too many families losing their loved ones and spending too much time in funeral homes and hospitals.
Another area that is seeing a quick impact in this area is Overton County. Sheriff W.B. Melton and his staff have made great strides in fatality reduction, but they've already felt the impact of a fatality this year. And I know that just like Sheriff Hopper, that Sheriff Melton is doing what he can do as well. In fact, let me say this, there was more enforcement generated out of law enforcement this past year through our specialized campaigns than's been generated ever. And so it's not an enforcement problem. We're doing that, but we have got to have the help of the motoring public. And so at this time, I'll ask Sheriff Melton if he would to come and address this situation as well. Sheriff.
Clint's already alluded to it, but I would like to say Tuesday we had our first fatality in Overton County, and we think it was due to a cell phone. A van sideswiped a 18-wheeler and went on and hit this vehicle and killed a 25-year-old student that was going to vocational school. Cell phones are a big problem, and folks, we got to get away from cell phones, texting, that kind of stuff. Thanks.
Distracted driving is deadly. Cannon, Cumberland, Macon, Overton, Smith, Trousdale, and White County have all been impacted by fatalities this year, and the contributing factors range from impaired driving to reckless driving to distracted driving. 3 of these fatalities are suspected to have impairment as contributing factors. And allow me to just define impaired driving in the context of traffic safety. A person is impaired when they take any substance that compromises their ability to operate a motor vehicle. Prescription drugs have the ability to impair. It doesn't matter if they've been given to you by a doctor, and it doesn't matter if they are taken at a therapeutic level. They can still impair your ability to drive and cause you to crash and kill someone. We have got to convince those people who take those of that. We have got to convince judges of that. And we have got to convince prosecutors of that. The red label, or sometimes yellow label, on the pill bottle that says, "Do not operate heavy machinery while taking this," is there for a reason, and a heavy machine includes a vehicle. One of the common denominators in all of these fatalities this year is that of the 7 that were required to wear a restraint, only 1 was restrained. This only means one thing for law enforcement: more seatbelt enforcement and education. Putnam County had a 30% decrease in fatalities in 2012, going from 10 fatalities in 2011 to 7 fatalities in 2012. Of the 7 that were required to wear seatbelts, only 1 of those were restrained. 6 others were not. At this time, I'm going to ask Chief Bob Terry from the Cookeville Police Department to come and address this issue within his jurisdiction and give us a word from his agency. So, Chief.
I want to thank you all for being here this morning, and particularly want to thank the Governor's Highway Safety Office for everything that they've been able to bring to the table and tremendous support that they've been to us over the years. We do our best on a local level to advertise enforcement on 111 in different places in town, and hopefully that's part of the reason we've had the reduction that we've had. But we intend to do everything that we can and continue our enforcement efforts to the level that we've had them, perhaps even ratchet it up a little bit better. We're having conversations currently with the Tennessee Department of Transportation about getting a consistent speed on 111 because it changes 3 or 4 times as you go through the city limits of Cumberland. And that can lead to, I think, to some issues that confuse drivers about where they ought to be and how they ought to be driving at that particular moment. However, I don't know that any speed limit is going to successfully be accurate because, as our traffic division will tell you, we saturated that area for a while. We had some drivers early in the morning riding as fast as 100 miles an hour. So we're going to continue our efforts there, and I'm going to again echo some of the same things that some of these other gentlemen have said. It's one is too many, and we've had a reduction, but 0 is the number that we're all trying to get. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. Sheriff Andrews could not be with us today, but I appreciate Lieutenant Brian Whitefield, Deputy Scott Stockton for being with us from the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. Been here on his behalf, and they are aware of the situation as well. We will be working with them to implement strategy to be sure that we can get the word out to the people of Putnam County to put on their seatbelts. We can take that reduction and continue it in Putnam County. Just put on the seatbelt. Keeping our children restrained is also a priority in this area. And in the Cumberland area, we have 2 of the top 3 child passenger safety programs in the state. The Cookeville Police Department and the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office Safe Journey program offer free car seat installation and checks, as well as education and information to anybody who wants it. So there is no reason for our children to be unsafe. I know that this story may have not made it this far, but just this past week over on I-59, I-24 split in Hamilton County, there was a car that ran underneath a tractor trailer, estimated speed of about 70 miles per hour with no braking. The passengers, or the driver and the passenger were killed on impact. The child was restrained in the back seat properly and is going to survive. And unfortunately, there was death there. Of course, this occurred in Georgia, but the child was restrained properly. And that needs to happen. And when you've got the resources in your community to make that happen, there's no reason why children should be unrestrained properly. And I appreciate the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office allowing Becky Campbell from Safe Journey to be here today. I wanted them to drive up here and be able to address child passenger safety. They do this every day. And so Becky, if you would come and give us some pointers on child passenger safety.
Thank you. As Clint was saying, we're still losing our children on the highways. Car crashes, believe it or not, are still the leading cause of death for our children 1 to 12 years of age. Even though we know how to protect them, okay? And the best way to keep your children safe in a vehicle is that you make sure that your child's in the right seat. That means the seat is appropriate for their age and their size, and make sure that the seat is correctly used and it's installed in the vehicle, and make sure that you use that car seat or that booster seat every single trip, long or short, even if it's in your neighborhood. Make sure you secure your children properly. Now, did you know that 90% of parents truly believe, in a survey this was found, 90% believe that their child's car seat or their booster seat is installed properly and that they're using it correctly. But research has also shown us that more than 80% are not used correctly. So here we have all these folks out here thinking they're using their car seats and their booster seats properly to protect their children when they really are not. And it may be that they need to do a couple of simple things. One is we need to encourage families to always read the owner's manual. Read the owner's manual that came with your car seat and the owner's manual to your vehicle under child safety, okay? And the other thing is, when you see a resource out there, you see it on the internet, you hear about it in the news, or you're driving along and you see a car seat checkup point going on, stop. Let those professionals, those certified child passenger safety technicians, make sure that your seat is correct and that you have the right seat for your child. Things change in the car seat world rapidly. So just because you think you were using the seat properly and you were a year ago, research may have shown that what we were doing a year ago is not the safest. And you know, the sad thing is, the way we find out that something was not safe is when something bad happens. And we don't want your family to be one of those families. We want to be sure that parents understand that we want to help their children stay safe. And we want to help them be informed and educated and give them the resources to keep their children safe on the highways. So we encourage families to get on the internet or to call your local sheriff's office and find out where you can get your car seat checked by a professional. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
Finally, I'm going to ask Captain R.C. Christian from the Cookeville District of the Tennessee Highway Patrol to come and tell us how they intend to address this situation. We've been talking with him as well. They're a great resource to us, and they're partnering with us and local agencies to make sure we can get this problem under control. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Captain Christian.
I can honestly say that I guess this past year we've had more joint efforts with other law enforcement agencies than we've had in some time. And we are trying to address areas that concern us, because one thing it's important for us to recognize is that we not only work these communities here, we live there too. And our families, they travel these roads, and it's very important to us to see that they're able to do the things that they do, and they do it safely. You know, I have a daughter that's driving now, and I think about that, you know, every day, you know, the things that she is going to face. And it's very important to recognize that as a parent as well. And I say that for this reason right here. Many of the contributing factors that's been mentioned here, you know, lots of times comes back down to parental involvement. You taking care and, you know, being a part of what's going on in your child's life. Because we need to try to ensure that they understand a lot of what these contributing factors to these crashes are. Cookeville encompasses 15 counties within our, and we have a very diverse geographical area. We've got some of the largest counties in our district compared to some very small counties, actually some of the smallest counties in the state. So our approach has to be unique, and our approach has to be exclusive of the area that we're trying to address. It's quite humbling when I talk to Clint with the Governor's Highway Safety Office, and you see that we're, truthfully, our district is +5 for fatalities from where we were last year at this time. And the times, I mean, there's 4:45 in the morning, from there all the way to like 4 in the afternoon. It's kind of a broad range. But we have to address that, and what we're doing is we have the supervisors within these areas looking at where the crashes are occurring. They're looking at the contributing factors where the crashes are occurring. So we have a better idea of where to deploy our resources when they're needed most. We've got a lot of upcoming events where we're going to partner with our local agencies, because, you know, we have a limited number of troopers, as you well know, but when we can combine those efforts with other agencies, that just makes us a lot more effective in what we're doing. So we've got that coming. I know we're going to begin that upcoming here. We've got the Super Bowl weekend. We've got multiple counties going to be doing efforts there. We're going to be out trying to get to impaired drivers, and we're making great strides in that area as well. I know the Cookeville District alone was up 25% DUI arrest last year. We're planning on doing even more than that this year. We issued over 5,000 citations for seatbelts last year in this district alone. We're planning on addressing that as well. Another unique approach, we're seeing that a lot of our fatalities with unrestrained drivers are occurring at night, and we're going to have a very innovative approach to nighttime seatbelt enforcement. So that's forthcoming as well. So that's somewhere else that we're going to address too. And we never lose sight of education. You know, we have a division within our agency that goes into schools. I've been into the schools myself We were actually in a school yesterday in White County, you know, looking at ways to instill in the minds of our young people about wearing their seat belts, whether they need to be in a booster seat or whatever it may be. Because we understand, hopefully, that if we can train them now, that they're going to be developing some driving habits that's going to help them as they get older. We take this very, very seriously, and I know that every person in here and every person behind me takes this very, very seriously. We plan on addressing it. We're going to be very aggressive in what we're doing because, like I stated earlier, we live in these communities and we want to make a difference in what's going on because it not only affects you, it affects us, it affects our families, but it affects our visitors as well. So I can assure you that the Tennessee Highway Patrol is going to be very proactive in our efforts to see that we bring our fatalities down, and we're going to be watching for distracted driving, especially the cell phone and the texting issue. You know, it takes several seconds to get yourself back together when you're looking down at your cell phone and you look up. It takes at least 1.6 seconds to even know you've got something you may need to hit your brakes to avoid a crash. But distracted driving, I know even within our department, we're up, you know, about 20% in crashes or stuff such as that. So we're looking at all this. We plan on addressing it. And I'm thankful to be associated with everyone that's behind me today. And I look forward to the things that we're going to be able to be doing together in the upcoming year to curb fatalities, make a difference in what we're doing. Thank you.
Let me close in saying this. This is not going to be ticket palooza, and I don't want anybody going away thinking that. It's going to be doing what works for these communities. If it's education, then that's what we're going to do, education. If it's a ticket, then that's what we're going to do, a ticket. If you're driving impaired, it's jail. So we're going to do what it takes to make it work. We have got some strategy that we're going to implement. We have looked at every county that was up last year. We're looking at the counties that are having being impacted this year, and we're going to be working those time frames instead of having a generic time frame saying not every impaired driver is driving from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. And that's certainly not necessarily the trend that's happening here. So we're looking at those counties, seeing where the crashes are happening, the time frames in which they're happening, and we're going to find out what works best there, and that's what we're going to do. If it's educating drivers, and that's what works, then let's do that. If it's taking people to jail, then that's what we're going to do. And if it's putting ink on paper and getting in pockets for citations and fines, that's what needs to happen. You say, well, a seatbelt ticket's only $10, I can take care of that. You get enough $10 tickets and it starts hurting, maybe you'll put your seatbelt on. It's got to stop. Too many people are dying. We buried 1,019 people last year. 57% of those were not wearing their seatbelts. At some point, the message has got to hit home. And that's why we're here. The bottom line is this: at the rate this trend is growing, we will see 156 fatalities by the end of the year in the Cookeville district alone. That is 70 more than last year. That means that someone listening to me right now or someone reading this article stands a good chance of not being here this time next year because they chose to drive impaired, distracted, unrestrained, or too fast, victimize themselves or victimize others. Please, please, please pay attention, slow down, don't drink and drive, and buckle up. Thanks. I appreciate y'all coming out. Is there any questions? We'll be sure to, yes?
Have you decided what some of those plans are that you're going to implement, or just going to be on a case-by-case basis?
No, it's not a case-by-case basis. We have looked at time frames, and we are going to get with the sheriff's offices and police agencies in those communities, and we're going to implement strategy based on contributing factors. If it's an impaired driving problem, then we're going to do saturation patrols and checkpoints. If it's a speeding problem, then we're going to talk to them about speeding enforcement and education. A lot of times you just can't, a lot of times a ticket is just a ticket. But this is part, media, for instance, is part of education. It's part of letting them know it. So we're going to see what works best for that community, and it's going to be by county. Smith County doesn't have the same problem as White County. So we've got to examine each county and then implement it that way.
Have you set any sort of time frame for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow starts our More Cops, More Stops program across the state. And it starts at 3 p.m. tomorrow. And so that's when we'll really start implementing this program. It runs through, a concentrated effort runs through February the 3rd, and then we will start implementing that kind of on the schedule that law enforcement can implement it within their counties.
What all goes along with that plan?
Well, it's aggressive driving. We take in everything. I mean, if it's a violation, we want to enforce it.
I noticed just today, actually, I noticed the signs, the TDOT signs had that written on there. And there was also the 57% of the people not wearing seatbelts that passed away this past year. Are those new as of like yesterday? And are you guys partnered up with TDOT on that? Are you going to continue to only show the fatalities on Fridays?
That's correct. The More Cops, More Stops program, we refer to it in the state of Tennessee as COMET. The reason for that is called a combined messaging approach to traffic fatalities, where instead of just saying click it or ticket, booze it and lose it, we're incorporating all of those to enforce that. And so there's just not one concentration. We want to concentrate on every aspect of violation. It's a NHTSA program. It is the commissioner's request that we only show the fatalities on Friday, and there's a reason for that. If we're seeing them every day, then it's kind of like it's just another sign. But if we start showing them on Friday, then people start anticipating, well, what's that number going to be this week? And then the next Friday, well, what's that number going to be this week? And so we believe we can get a little more benefit by showing it once a week. And we're going to see. We're going to measure it. We've got a little bit of baseline now because we showed it for an extended period of time every day. And now we're going to try it just on Friday and kind of see what kind of effect we have from it. So we hope it works, and we think it will. So.
You've said that enforcement, a lack of enforcement is not to blame. Y'all are out there doing it. So does that mean that drivers, you believe, are solely to blame for all this?
Well, I don't think drivers are solely to blame. First of all, enforcement has increased. Let me ask Captain Christian, do you know what the overall percentage of impaired driving increased arrest was within the highway patrol last year?
It was around 40%. I know in the Cooper district it was 25%.
So we're seeing an increase in enforcement. In our campaigns alone, just in the Cumberland region, when we would do a click it or ticket or a booze it, lose it program and they report that data, we had about an 18% increase in enforcement overall. So enforcement has increased. There's a couple of things that have happened to cause this, and especially in 2012. First of all, a mild winter. More people drive when the weather's good. So when you do that, you have an increase in mileage, and when you have an increase in mileage, you're going to have an increase in crashes. Second of all, is the impaired driving problem is now just not alcohol related. It is, we're having a huge problem with prescription pills. If it was just an alcohol impaired driving problem, I really believe that we have already got programs in place that could handle that, and we could see a tremendous decrease. But now we're dealing with people driving under the influence of prescription pain pills, prescription depressants, prescription stimulants, marijuana, and we don't have prescription marijuana, but we're seeing that happen. And so now it's gone into that, and it's causing us a problem. And we've got those folks who are getting those prescriptions filled during the day. They're driving impaired during the day. So that timeline of just people go out and get drunk at night and then they go home and they crash early in the morning, that don't happen anymore. It's all time frames of the day. Distracted driving is a huge problem. People are going to have to put the cell phones down. And until that happens, until people understand that you cannot text and drive safely, we're going to continue to work fatalities. And that's what we're trying to drive home. They're just going to have to understand that that's the problem. And we can write tickets all day long, but until people change behavior, a ticket's just costing them money. And then seatbelt usage. Short of just getting in and putting the seatbelt on them, we're just going to have to continue driving the message on. What would really help, and and I'm saying this for me, I'm not attaching any of them to this, will be a tougher seatbelt law. $10 for a first offense, $20, no points on your driver's license. We need a tougher seatbelt law. And that would help a lot. We need a lot of things to happen. We need judges and prosecutors who will prosecute impaired driving cases that are prescription medications and say, look, these people are impaired on prescription pills. We need to try it instead of going, it's therapeutic doses, we can't try that, or a doctor give it. And it's happening across the state, and we're having to deal with the aftermath of that, because once a person gets by with it, it's almost a license for them to do it again. So we have to deal with it.